At first, I thought your shirt was a basketball holding a football.
What is it?
God, that would be a good shirt.
It does look like it has like the two white stripes.
That would be a cool shirt, actually.
But no, it's a basketball holding
Sipping a soft drink.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Which makes so much more sense.
Yeah, having a little cuppy coffee, if you will. Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode number 33, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hey, everybody.
DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And John Hines.
Hello, hello.
And we are back again to talk about some more video games, per usual, although I think we're going to talk about some card-based video games today.
Heck yeah.
I'm in more ways than one, but we'll get to some of that later. But DJ, DJ's the only one of us that has not been playing Slay the Spire, and I know that we're a little late to the party here. This game, I think, was out in early access for a really long time.
Yeah, like 2017, I want to say.
Yeah, I've definitely heard some podcasts that I've been listening to for years. Like, I feel like this game has just been in my conscience forever.
Yeah.
And now it is available on the Switch, and I think it's like finally like out, right? If I'm not mistaken. I
June
think there
2019
may be future
official release. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And I'm sure I shouldn't say I'm sure, but there may be future updates. But essentially, this is like a turn-based RPG that plays out as like a deck-building card game. It has roguelike elements where it's procedurally generating like a map of different nodes where it's like, it just kind of lays out. You can pick a few different branching paths of like, okay, I'm going to go the enemy route, or there's a bunch of question marks. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get, but maybe I'll take my chances, or, different treasure nodes and a few different, there's different rest spots where you can either upgrade a card or regain some health. But it plays out pretty similarly to, I mean, I've never personally played stuff like Hearthstone, but I did play quite a bit of Magic the Gathering, the actual physical card game growing up. And this plays like a slightly more simplified version of that, and a slightly more fast-paced version. I shouldn't say simplified, because I mean there's a lot more in-depth like mathematics going on and multiplication and stuff like that. More than you could do at least quickly, playing with pen and paper or with physical cards.
I'd still say it's fair, though, that it's simplified compared to Magic the Gathering, though. But in a good way. That's not a problem.
Yeah, not at all. And I guess faster pace in the sense like you just have like a set amount of like mana, essentially, to use the Magic term, or like energy for each turn.
Yep.
And then you kind of... Yeah, you're shuffling out your hand each time, and that's kind of the thing that kind of speeds up the process as well. So whatever cards you're not able to play, those just get discarded into your discard pile, and then you draw a full new hand each time. And there's 3 different characters that you can pick from. They all have like slightly different decks and different, different abilities, or just different kind of mechanics. Yeah, to
different
their
play
combat,
styles,
I guess.
honestly, and to some degree.
Yeah, especially that I forget the names of the characters. Other than I've been playing as the Silent, which is the second of the 3 characters that, or at least seemingly 3 characters. I don't. For some reason, I thought there were more than that, but
I've seen allusions to that too. But I've only got 3 of them as well.
Yeah, and it seems like pretty much like after you just play a run as the first character, you unlock the second character. Like there didn't seem to be any kind of difficult thing. Like I didn't have to beat the game as one character to unlock another one, and then
maybe you will.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe that's how you get some of these other characters, if there are any more. But you essentially, other than that, like there's not a huge overall like or overarching like there's no huge sense of progression. Like you're kind of each run is independent. Seems to be like about 5 tiers where like, okay, I've gotten enough points with this character to get to level 2, I unlock 3 new cards that are available to me in each run, or a new relic that might be, which is kind of like a buff or a perk that you get on any given run. But other than that, like unlocking these few different tiers, it's pretty much seems like each run is just an independent game against the computer, like almost a game of solitaire, where you're, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like it seems like I'm finding myself falling in the trap of like just playing cards really quickly and like boom, boom, boom. But like, it really matters which cards you play in which order.
Oh,
because,
big time.
like, you definitely have to, if you're going to try to weaken an enemy before you attack them, like, that's more valuable than just attacking them first. You know, even if you play the same 3 cards in a turn, it matters what order you play them in. But
absolutely,
what character are you both playing at? Why don't we start with you, Randall? Who are you playing as? Are you going silent as well?
At first, it was a lot of the silent. I actually played the crap out of this game with my buddy Steve on Thanksgiving night. We were just like addicted to it, and we were kind of doing like we were talking with Bob as you. It's kind of another one of those games where one person might not have the controller, but they're still playing. Right? You can still kind of help make decisions. Especially because every so often you'll come to these question mark areas where you have to make a decision on, like, you can lose 1 card but gain 75 gold, or, you know, maybe you'll get a special relic but you get a curse card that'll show up, and if you don't get it out of your hand in time, you'll, you know, start with a vulnerable debuff on you, which, you know, makes you take more damage as the combat goes on. So we had a lot of fun kind of passing the controller back and forth, playing through that way, and we ended up seeing the credits that night, and it was kind of the first night I had played Slay the Spire.
Wait, what?
You beat the game?
Yo.
Yeah. So,
Let's go, Ray.
Who do you think you are? We got another DJ on our hands.
I saw credits.
That's beating the
that's
game.
further than I've gotten. So how many, I guess spoiler alert, but how many acts are there? Because
3.
I've gotten to the 3rd act. Oh, okay. Okay, I was a little closer than I thought. I was under the impression there was more. But what do you?
You said there was like 100.
Yeah, I just assumed it was going to be like 100-floor climb or something. But what do you mean to start, Randall?
I've seen, in doing a little bit of research, it looks like there's more acts once you've kind of beaten the game with all 3 characters. And there's this ascension mode that can add kind of different aspects to your runs afterwards. Like, you beat the game, it opens up the ascension mode that you can either check or not when you start the game. And for instance, with the silent, I think it was, if I went into ascension mode, there'd be more elite boss battles as opposed to just regular enemies. But otherwise, it didn't seem horribly more difficult, I would say.
Yeah, but that's interesting because each elite battle, I think, gives you a relic. Is that correct?
I believe
like,
that's
so you get
true.
a random relic that gives you a random perk.
Yep.
And a lot of those perks are pretty powerful. Like, for example, the silent, your starting buff automatically is that you get to draw 2 extra cards,
which is a big
in
deal.
each hand. So you have 7 instead of 5. I think 5 is the standard. And again, you have 3 energy. But like, one of my favorite cards, and I had a couple other stacks where like I was able to like kind of up my card count even more. Like, like sometimes you'll get a card that says like do 4 damage and draw 2 extra cards next turn. And then there's this card called Bullet Time, which uses 3 energy or 3 mana or whatever, and then it makes every card in your hand cost 0 to play.
Right.
So sometimes, especially with the silent character, I would get that in my first hand right off the bat sometimes, and it's like I can just play this whole spread and I get my 2 extra cards because it's the first combat. So I can just like boom, 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 or just stack my defense, and it really is like you're doing a pretty significant juggling act between attacking and defending.
Yep.
And also like wearing off, or I guess there's not really, or at least I haven't found any ways to negate buffs that are put on you, but are there
ways,
cards that you can play? Yeah. Okay. I maybe haven't seen. And there's potions you can get.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, as Randall mentioned, you can get cards actually removed from your deck when you go to a merchant.
Yep.
You can buy new cards, buy new potions and items and stuff, but you can actually pay, I think it starts at 75 coins.
Yep.
Or gold or whatever to remove a card from your deck. So let's say you took a chance and said, "Oh, I'm pretty close to a rest here, so I'm going to take this cursed card, and I only have to get through 1 more battle, and then I can just ditch it for 75 coins. So it's worth it for me to get this relic." Or whatever it might be.
And then, at some points, I had a run where I got a relic that said, like, if you pick up a cursed card, increase your max HP. So it's like, well, shoot.
Oh, my God.
Why not then?
Right.
So, like, there's relic elements, especially relics, associated with like every aspect of this game. Like, honestly, they thought of every possibility with this. Like, even in the store, like we were talking about, there's a relic to cut the cost of items in half. There's
oh man,
right, there's a relic to reduce the amount it costs to remove a card from your deck. Everything.
Yeah, I think every run that I've played, I don't think I've seen a relic twice. I think every time it's always new stuff. Like, and after you beat like one of the acts, I guess, you get to pick from 3 of them. So after every act, I mean, I've seen quite a few.
Yeah.
And I would say I've seen at least 20, 25 totally independent relics, and there seem to be even more.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't know. I just really like, I've mentioned a bunch of times on the podcast, I'm all about that risk versus reward. And this game is just constantly throwing that in your face.
Roguelike elements. Yep.
Exactly. Like, do you want to, like, I got some buff that was, I can't remember what perk it gave me, but instead of after each battle, you typically, almost every battle, maybe every battle, you get to choose from one of 3 cards. Mm-hmm. But this perk I had would just like eliminate 2. So I just got the 1 card, whatever card it gave me. But I think it gave me like an extra like 30 max HP it was something. I don't know if it was that. That sounds a little too drastic.
That's possible.
It was something that gave me a pretty significant upper hand, I felt.
Yeah.
It felt like it was worth the trade off. So,
right.
Yeah, I think the very first the act boss that I got those like relics on, I think you get the opportunity to sometimes get ones that have like only positive effects, and then other times it's like 1 positive and 1 negative.
Yep.
And I think the very first one I had, they were all 1 positive and 1 negative.
Right.
And, like they were all like really brutal for my first run. Like one of them was like lose the ability to gain gold.
Yep.
And one of the other one was like lose the ability to gain energy.
Yep.
Oh,
and I was like, I can't. Oh, I went with gold, and I just wasn't able to go to a shop ever again.
It really hampers you too. I had the same experience, and I'm like, oh my God, how did I get stuck with this relic? Like it's over. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there is a little bit of chance. We were talking a little bit about that, and I haven't hit any of that exact like, oh man, I'm just screwed on this run because of something that happened or because of a card I got or didn't get. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I think this game is a lot of fun.
I like the especially when you get like a random card that you've never gotten before that adds like a completely new mechanic.
Yeah.
Like even before we started recording, I was playing and I got the Ritual Dagger card, which is a card that does 15 damage, but it exhausts it, which means that once you play that card, you can't play it again for that round.
Right.
Like, it's just completely removed. But if you use that card to kill an enemy, it permanently raises the damage it does by 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Or if you upgrade it, it like permanently raises the damage it does by 5. So like that card, the more you play it as just like killing blow, just gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah. And I've had some cards stack where like I was able to, I think I had some buff where like every time I played 3 attack cards in one hand or in one turn, I would get my, I forget what stat it is, but whatever upgrades your defense. So I was going up 1 or 2 in defense every time I played 3 attack cards. So some of the quicker like minion battles would go by pretty quick. I wouldn't be able to stack that. But during some of the like tougher boss fights where you are kind of taking turns that are just stacking defense and like you're not necessarily on an all, okay, I'm just going to wipe these enemies out. And not that all the combat is that simple. It's definitely most of the battles other than the very first few you're having to put some thought into it off the bat, which I really appreciate. And that's a really fine balance to strike with these roguelike games like they got. We were talking about that as well, John. Like that balance of like you want a little more, or like, oh, if I just had that one item, or oh, if things just went a little differently, or oh, if I played that hand a little better, or if I drew better cards, but just something that keeps you like
enough randomness that like you feel the pull to try again, but not enough randomness that you feel like you had no chance.
And there's so many options available too, right? Like in any given hand, and I should say too, in most of these combats, you're up against multiple enemies. It's not just the one. So you're having to make choices. You're seeing above their head because often they're basically telegraphing what their next turn move is going to be, whether it's an attack, whether it's a shield for they're going to defend themselves, or it might be question marks. It might be a swirly thing that means they're going to do some shitty negative debuff on you or whatever, or call in more help. So you're having to make decisions on not just attacking, but who you're going to attack and for how much. How much block do you need to put on too, because you've only got so much energy to spend on these cards. So there's a lot that plays into each turn, even though you can generally play them pretty quickly. So it's just so addicting, that loop.
Yeah, it definitely has that addicting quality, and just like the one more run kind of thing. Even though the runs are a little bit long, for sure, I would say, hour and a half probably to get through. I've gotten not all the way to the final boss of that third act, but I've definitely made it pretty deep into the third act.
Yeah. And to this game's credit, every run, even any quote-unquote failed run, still adds to your overall progression, where there's a experience bar at the end of every run that's gaining, and once you hit a level of experience, it's unlocking generally 3 new cards that you haven't likely seen before that get added to your deck for future runs. So just every time it just keeps progressing forward. And I'm super addicted. I'll say, too, that I beat the game again with the Ironclad as well.
Good Lord.
Man.
How much time did you put in?
I think because it's the Switch, and I think it's, within like 7 days or whatever, it won't tell me the play count, but
right.
At least 10 hours. At least.
Okay.
Well, that's not a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting way more. You're
You're just better. You're just better than us.
I guess so. Yeah.
No argument.
So what
there.
I used in the Ironclad run that just worked like crazy for me is there's a buff called Strength, and Strength just like doubles and quadruples your attack power, and it just stacks on top of itself through a given combat and you can get relics that say add 3 strength for your first turn, and then it just stays there, and it just like keeps adding on top of itself, where I was able to like knock out lower level enemies in like a turn or two. And just kind of had the right cards in my hand as I'm building through, because you're getting opportunities to add these new cards. So anytime a card said anything to do with strength, whether it'd be affected by strength or it'd add more strength, I would just grab it. And then that just kind of reinforces a strategy that you're making on the fly, which I think is another really addicting element of this, because I love that type of deck building and customizing and just figuring out a strategy as you're going on a given run. I love it.
Yeah, I do love like stacking those abilities, and I guess one thing we didn't mention is the abilities or the powers. You can get cards that are going to give you like a power.
Yep.
So, for example, like the Silent, one of the ones that I use pretty often is like the retain 1 card at the end of each hand. So you're able to essentially at the end of each hand, I can pick 1 card, and I was able to upgrade that card and actually pick 2 cards then after that to save from each hand. So you can even get more strategic with how you're playing out. Okay, like I know they're attacking next turn, so I'm going to save these defensive cards and go on the all-out onslaught on this one. You're open to even more options, which is pretty cool.
Or I've got like 2 cards that are both 3 energy, but that's all I get per turn. So let me save one of these other guys so I can slam them with this next turn.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we've all talked enough playing cards by ourselves. So
it's so good.
why don't you talk about some cards? Cards with other people on the internet, DJ.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of multiplayer games lately. Predominantly, I've been on the Euchre 3D app on my phone. Those who aren't familiar, Euchre's a nice little Midwestern card game that you play 4 people. Everyone has a partner, and it's just like a basic trick-taking game. And
what is a trick-taking game?
Like hearts, or just everyone plays a card, and whoever plays the most powerful wins the trick. And everyone's hand is 5 cards. So after the 5 cards are played, you see who won points, and you play to 10 points. And this is, I didn't grow up knowing this game, but like there are a lot of people from Michigan at my work.
Randall and I can attest.
Absolutely.
This is a very long family tradition. Like bust out the card tables, and the whole kitchen is full of like a euchre tournament.
It's
basically
the default.
Yeah,
if you go to any
nothing to do.
VFW hall in Michigan, they're going to have a euchre tournament every week, guaranteed.
Yeah,
that's where I should have grown up. Like
VFW hall.
Yeah, we have annual tournaments at work. We used to have like a team, or not like a league, but that kind of died out. So now, go to these other like leagues in Chicago, but sometimes it's hard to coordinate getting like the right number of people all together. And it's just, let me just bust out the app and just quickly find a bunch of people that are ready to go. it's really nice that it prevents anyone from like misplaying. Like, you know, when someone leads the hand, if you have a card of the suit that they led with, you must follow suit. And oftentimes when you play Euchre, some people
cheat.
Well, cheat or forget the rule. Like, I mean, we've played
misplay.
Well, we've played with a lot of people, DJ, like with your group of friends, like kind of, I feel like teaching some people are playing for the first time. So it is like, I just forgot that one
with some
rule
drinks
or whatever. Yeah. So this honestly would probably be a nice way to learn how to play the game.
That's true.
Yeah. It was great. We had a friend in town, and he had been learning by playing this game, but he was like way too nervous to play in person. It's just like there is a level of tension.
Oh yeah,
that gets added in person.
It can be
especially
intense
with your teammate. Even
yes. Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is one of those games where you're essentially supposed to have no table talk at all, like to the point of no even hinting at like I'm gonna pass on this card. You can't hint at anything. You're supposed to just be stoic.
I'm a purist.
And, yeah. Well, and on this app, there's none of that.
Right.
I mean, unless you're playing with people who are actually playing with each other in the same room, I guess. But
so on this app, there are a few predetermined messages you're allowed to send to the entire table, like let's go if someone's taking forever, or ouch. And sometimes if like someone
the
makes
Splatoon method of just saying booyah and
nice shot
over here.
So like,
Rocket League.
Sometimes there's little amounts of table talk that could happen, like, your partner says that they want hearts to be the trump suits, and you could message like nice one, be like, okay, well then my partner liked that. So there are small amounts of possible table talk, but it's pretty good altogether. And like even like you'll even get a lot of players who will, like, if they see that they're gonna lose or whatever, they will just drop out, but they won't like officially leave. So it's nice that the game lets you just like, if someone's gone for like 20 seconds, like you're allowed to boot them, and like a computer player will come in and instantly,
that's nice,
take their spot and play more or less the way they should.
Okay, because I was wondering that when like we were setting up this podcast and you just opened the app up and you're like, oh yeah, I was playing with Euchre. People. And I wasn't sure if it was like asynchronous or whatever, because like I wasn't expecting you to be able to play a full game.
Right.
And when you put away the app, I like, is the computer just taking over for you? Or?
That's just how much I love you guys, that I'll stop mid game.
But is a computer finishing that game?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I won't get any of the credit that comes from, like, if my team were to win, but...
Gotcha.
And what do you get for the credit that you get? Like, can you just buy random skins and stuff like that?
Well, I just play ranked, so, like, you
can upgrade the ace so that
it's... double damage.
That's right. Ace plus.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Just a deck full of... I don't I've forgotten how to play Euchre, so I don't even know what the special cards are.
The Bowers.
The Bowers?
Yes. Yeah. What? Oh,
the Jack Bowers?
The Eddie Bowers?
What designates the 3D in this game?
I mean, there's there cards that go on the table. It's 3D. What 3D?
I mean, does it have like a... I don't know. Does it look like one of those like just cheap like touch screen at the bar, mini game card game?
I mean, video poker.
What
like
type
solitaire.
of production value are we talking here?
It's not great. It doesn't look bad. I don't know.
Just like a nice.
It's fine.
A nice mobile game.
I want a cool splash screen like solitaire.
I made this app.
Does that happen?
I didn't make this app.
It's cards everywhere.
What's that?
I want a cool splash screen like solitaire when I win. I want cards to be just hopping around everywhere.
Yeah, that is a very satisfying. Do you get that in Slay the Spire?
Kevin will never see it.
Hopping around 3D. That'd be great.
Well, DJ, I know you've been playing some more online games.
Oh, you do you?
Present,
you know
present,
what I've been
past.
playing? Yeah. So I have not been playing this game, but I saw that Titanfall 2 was going to be coming to PS Plus this month, which is a game I love, but it reminded me of another game made by Respawn Entertainment, Apex Legends.
I forget that's the same team.
Yeah, man. I had to, I was like, there's a similar feel to these. And I looked up, oh, yeah, it's the same. It's the same team. But yeah, it has given me my fix of like very agile first-person shooter.
Nice.
Like that is how I like most of my games, is to be like super agile. So, obviously with first-person shooters, that's my go-to.
You play any Quake back in the day, DJ?
I didn't.
Oh,
I know.
Continue.
But yeah, so season 3 of this game came out recently, so I was like, let me just check this out. And like,
have you played any of the previous seasons?
I had done it when it first came out. So I did the first season, and they've added some more characters, none of which I've unlocked, so I can't speak to them yet.
Interesting. I didn't realize that they were locked characters.
There's like credits you can earn or purchase if you'd like.
It is free to play, isn't it?
It's free. Yes,
free to start.
It's free to play, but if you want, easy access to these unlockable characters, just pay for it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a grind.
Otherwise, it's everything else is free about the game.
They're selling skins, I'm assuming, as well.
They gotta be.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I think that. Yeah,
I don't focus on that stuff. Right. I try to stay above that.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, I appreciate that more in the sense of like, that's something like you're not paying to win. You're just paying to be like, hey, you know what? I play this game all the time and I want to throw them $10.
Yep.
And this gun looks cool, or this outfit looks cool, or whatever.
Yep. And you know what? Like, I don't even like that often, like playing to win, like in the sense of like, I don't like the process of like, oh, like you've, leveled up this gun. And so like now for anyone new who's joining the game, they have to fight an uphill battle. Like, I kind of like with Apex Legends, like you just have your hero that has these abilities, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
Whether this is your first game or your 100th game, like that doesn't change. Like, so there's nothing stopping you from,
there's no progression that you're unlocking for each character.
Yeah, just you getting better at the game and working better as a team.
Kind of the Overwatch model that way.
Yeah. Another game I love.
So like this is I don't know a ton about this game just because it's one of the in the genre of, I believe it's a battle royale.
It is.
Okay, like it's one of the lesser famous ones, so I don't know as much about it as say like PUBG or Fortnite.
Yeah.
Or
it's a team based, so you have squads of 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Very similar to like Fortnite style. Like you start up in this like aircraft and you decide when your team is going to drop. It's cool. Like it forces you all together to begin with. Like one of you is like the jump master, decides when your team drops. And, if you don't like where they're going to go and you just want to do your own thing, you're allowed to break away from the team. But, fuck you. Because you're more often than not, like, people get caught in a 3-on-2 early on. It's over.
Right.
So it can be a little frustrating needing to do some of that coordination. And I'm speaking as someone who does not play using a microphone.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people do, and, it's smart. And I just never, that's just not a thing that I've ever.
It's something
been
I
inclined
definitely,
to do.
especially that it's only a 3-person team. Like, it's definitely something I'd like to try with like a group of us that wants to play. Cause like if I'm talking to people that I know and like, I can enjoy it, but you just never know who you're going to be talking to on the PlayStation or on the Xbox or whatever on the internet.
I got harassed the other day by my teammates. Like I'd taken out a squad and then my teammates died, but I was out of bullets, so I couldn't do anything. So I just ran. But they're like, "What are you doing?" And I couldn't be like, "I have no ammo. What do you want?"
Do you have like the option to turn off like talk like
Yeah,
from your teammates?
you can turn it off. And,
Okay.
So it's my fault.
Well, you kind of want to be in the loop, though, if they're trying to strategize or something.
sure,
but that is
yeah.
something, though, that I've seen. And again, I only watched you, and I think I played like one round. That when it first came out, we like you were like, just download it, just check it out. And I just appreciated like the ping system in the game, which is like kind of like I don't know exactly how it works. Again, I haven't played much, but it's something to the effect of you highlight something with your cursor and you essentially either click the joystick in or something or double click it, and it's actually going to say like, if you're looking at like a gun on the ground, your character will kind of yell out like, "Hey, there's an extra gun in here.
Oh, wow.
There's extra ammo over here." They'll kind of like call out
That's smart.
what they're saying. And then I think there's also like there's just again back to just like kind of quality of life improvements that we talked about with Pokemon last week. But it seems like they're just streamlining like. There's something I just remember reading about, like, if there's a new gun, it'll just straight up tell you, is this gun better than the gun you're using?
Nice.
Or is it not? Or is it something like that?
There's
like
color coding
very,
that
like,
makes it
cut and
easy to
dry.
see.
Nice.
Like, basic stuff will be gray, like, level 2 stuff will be like blue, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Do you find that ping system comes in handy, especially not playing with a microphone? I mean, are you calling out? Because I think you can like highlight an enemy, like if you're sniping even, and be like, "Hey, enemy in the distance," and stuff like that.
You can point
that's
out where
cool.
enemies are. A lot of times I'll just be like, "Hey, like, there's this great sniper attachment. I don't have a sniper, but like maybe one of my teammates wants this," and it'll be like, "Oh, this is a X, like 8x times scope or whatever."
Nice.
So,
Yeah, and again, they can then easily choose to ignore that or be like, "Oh yeah, I'm sniping. I want that." So
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of it, especially like taking out like, or even like we talked about real quick with like Splatoon or Rocket League or something with the quick like, or Euchre 3D like with the quick one or two choices for dialogue. I kind of like that in this too, even though you can play with a headset. You have like a totally viable option of playing and still being able to strategize with your team of strangers,
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You should get it. And you should get Titanfall too.
Yeah, we definitely need to download Titanfall
dude.
since it's
You guys
PS
need to
Plus
download
this
it
month.
and invite me over.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you've been playing one more online, not to just keep the ball, just put the pressure on DJ. But DJ's digging into the past a little bit, and I know Randall and I have a little more experience with the campaign in this game.
The past of us.
But yeah, why don't you talk about, because to be honest, I always kind of forget that The Last of Us even had an online multiplayer
it's
mode.
the only mode that matters.
That is
And,
incorrect. We
the
can talk
internet's
more
in an
about that.
uproar about that for sure, because I know they
know.
announced that there was not going to be this mode in Last of Us 2, and if they do make some kind of multiplayer thing, it'll be a separate release, I believe they said.
That's because everyone loves the single player
if-
of Last of Us. Continue.
Well,
If they
speak
don't
for
have
yourself.
if they don't have multiplayer for Last of Us 2, I'm not getting it. So.
Well, I kind of like that. I do appreciate though that they're like, hey, I mean, I read like a short press release, and it was just basically like, hey, we want to commit all of our resources to this campaign in Last of Us 2 and what we want to
The
do.
inferior part.
And if we do something with the multiplayer modes or something with that in the future, that will be a totally separate standalone. But I like that, like even something small like when Nintendo announced like, hey, we're pushing back Metroid Prime 4. We know it's going to disappoint our fans, but at the same time, I just appreciate the just upfront of like, hey, this is our goal. This is what we're doing. I just appreciate knowing what's going on.
Set
instead of just-
expectations.
Exactly. So again, if you wanted that part of the game, hey, that's what I liked about it. I'm not getting it. So, but anyways, what is the multiplayer like? Because
Well, for full disclosure, I don't dislike the campaign of Last of Us. It is
good.
clearly a very good game.
Yep.
You were just trying to get a rise out of Randall.
I think it's just a pretty good game.
Oh no, I think it's Naughty
I'll
Dog's best game.
Ugh.
I will agree with your pretty good sentiment. I can't wrap my head around the amount of praise it has gotten. Mainly because I think the praise is more directed at the story, which I didn't think was anything that unique in terms of.
It was just another zombie thing
Yeah.
to me.
Oh, that's
And-
pretty reductive. That's really reductive.
I think that's what that game is. From what and granted, I did not see it through to the end, so I don't know how the story. But I played through the first season and a half. I think you played through like a whole year, and I played through a pretty good chunk of this game. And to be fair, I was talking to one of our buddies, Mikey, the other day, and he was saying he's a big fan of this game as well. And he was saying like later in the game, you're fighting less of the clickers or the zombies and more people.
Yes.
But then again, like. So when it feels more like an Uncharted game, it's good.
No,
and when it feels less like that, at least for me,
scenario.
But again, that's just so generic to me. The post-apocalyptic,
I don't know,
as opposed to Indiana Jones.
I never said that. I don't know. I'm just. Yeah.
Let's
I
go,
guess you got a point. You got a point. Yeah, I got nothing for that.
The claws come out.
I think part of it too is like I did not fall in love with the character that everyone like loves so much. Like the girl Ellie is just like it felt like they were just trying so hard to get the point across that like, oh, she's the cool young teenager, like she says fucking shit all the time. It's like, okay, we get it. I don't know. I didn't take
DJ
to
doesn't
her
like cursing.
No.
Yeah, my games are rated teen at most.
It felt a little try hardy.
I felt the same. But we clearly differ on this aspect.
Yes.
Of the
so the multiplayer.
None of the clickers are in the multiplayer. It's just these like 4-on-4 squads where you and your team like start out with like very limited resources. But there are little stashes of resources throughout the map. So,
so you're still
in the same
in multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In the same spot each time, or is that like
in the same spots each time? Yeah. So, although like the game, because it's a third person shooter, it lends itself well to, playing stealthily. Especially because you still have that like listening element where you can kind of hear if enemy players are like moving around or something. You kind of see them through walls and whatever.
Interesting.
So although there's a lot of it's easy to be stealthy with this game, but because you need to get these resources to get an edge over the other team, you're not just sitting back and camping. Like that's not going to be what wins you the game.
Okay.
So it's like I like that kind of balance that it lends itself to.
Yeah, and I mean, I like team-based stuff. And again, I mean, if this is 4 players, I mean, maybe we should give this a try. Maybe I should give this game another chance. Have you played much of the online at all, Randall?
None. 0. No, I'd forgot that it was a thing, to be honest. I just never even bothered booting that part of the game up.
Yeah, I forget all the time, and it's kind of crazy to me that there's still people playing this game. Like DJ was able to boot it up
people
and
playing
get on.
Warcraft 3, man.
I know, but I know we've talked before on the podcast. Like games, just even Pokemon. It seems like for like a week at most, I was seeing like everything on Twitter, Instagram, Pokemon, and now it's just gone. And I'm not saying people aren't playing it and it's still popping up and it's relevant and whatever, but it's just the games, even the biggest releases just come and go. The new Star Wars game just came out and it's just like, oh, there's a new Star Wars game. It's supposed to be good. Okay, what's next?
It's
just
crazy.
Immediate.
I guess to be fair, like a month or two ago is when, PS Plus released Last of Us Remastered for free. So
that's true. Yeah.
Probably a decent bump from
that probably helped a lot.
Even if it was just like someone like you who already had the game, like just putting it back in your head again, So
because I was actually gonna ask about like how long ago was it that it came out?
I mean, it was a PlayStation 3
we were living
game.
Together back then,
it was
Kevin.
a PlayStation 3 game, and then they remastered it for PlayStation 4. So I mean, it's been
2013,
2012, 13. Yeah.
Okay, like 6 years.
Are there like rankings in the matchmaking, or is it?
I mean, you've got like a level.
Okay, because I was kind of wondering, like, especially for like games that have like this legacy of an online play, like people have been playing it for years. Like sometimes
I saw some level 999 people.
Are you kidding me?
Saw a couple of those.
triple digits.
And what level are you at? Just out.
Oh, I'm like level 4, right?
Okay, so you were starting over
But
from scratch.
I've been playing like a decent amount, like at least 5 hours. So it's not super quick leveling up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like you're playing against people who have dedicated their lives and like you have no chance of like competing against them, or is it still kind of unbalanced if you're playing against, you just get a roll where you're up against veterans?
I'd say that's not typically the case.
Okay.
I'd say most of the time I feel like I have a chance. Maybe I'm delusional. I don't know.
Well, you're always going to get a little bit of that in online
Fair to say you're
matchmaking.
always delusional.
Illusion of chance.
They also like kind of frame the online somewhat in a campaign style where it's like, you know, after each game, it's like, you know, the results. It's like you're building a community or whatever. Like it's the better you do, and like you're gathering more recruits for your community or whatever. And you know, every so often it'll be like, oh, here's this opportunity to gain a bunch more members. Like, pick which challenge you want to complete. Like, you want to down enemies a certain amount of time, or like get a certain amount of kills with this gun. Like, you get to pick which challenge you want to fulfill to like, and how well you do that challenge. Like, they have different tiers for like how many more recruits you can get, or it'll be like, oh, like the enemy faction is attacking, and however well you do over the next 3 games determines how many people you'll lose from your community. So like, even though like this whole like sense of like you building your own community of survivors like is not in any way essential to playing, like there's that added element if you want to partake in it.
It gives you
cool.
a reason to come back or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I envisioned it, even knowing that it was there, still kind of envisioned it to be some sort of like just kind of shallow experience that maybe you're just enjoying the mechanics of.
Right.
But it sounds like there's a lot going on here. That I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
I want you to check it out.
All right.
You need to check out that. You need to check out Titanfall 2.
I got a lot to play.
And Apex
I got a lot of
And
AAA gaming to do. But in the meantime, I think Randall and I can wrap up this week talking about another space shooter game that we've been playing.
Yeah.
This is like a retro inspired. I would say it's like 16-bit style pixel art. Side scrolling shmup.
Yep.
And this game is called Super Hydorah. And I'm having a really good time with this game. I mean, it reminds me a lot of I'm getting some Gradius vibes, a little bit of R-Type even.
Yep.
And one of the things that kind of caught my eye with this game is that like most shmups or even just most retro games seem to have 8 levels or 8 worlds or whatever. And this game was like there's 21 plus levels with 35 bosses or something like that. And it was like and now that I've played a little bit, there's a few branching paths and it looks like you can kind of go and select different levels. But yeah, I'm just kind of really appreciating all the options. Like you can play like, I think it's pilot mode or pro mode or whatever, and that's like 1-hit kill. You can pick up a shield and I think you can even stack shields if you pick up more than one.
Yep.
Or you can play on, I think it's called rookie mode, and that you can take 3 hits, or you essentially start with 2 shields.
Thank goodness
or it
for
might even be
rookie
3
mode.
shields. Yeah, and I just like the options. And then like we were talking about before, Randall, you do have to forfeit your score if you choose to use a continue.
Yeah, that's a
but
cool mechanic.
You can use as many continues as you like to see the game through to the end.
Yep.
So, and that's not to say that it doesn't start getting tough. Like each level, I've made it through. I've been kind of playing like I always do, like kind of forcing myself. I've played the rookie mode a few times, but I'm kind of playing that pro mode. And even though I could continue, I am starting over from scratch and just trying to get these levels down. But it's a little bit of a slower pace, and I do appreciate that it has like a little bit of vertical scrolling up and down, so the level is not just like a fixed perspective. You're able to like, I'm going to go around this like asteroid and go above it or below it, and like the screen will scroll up or down a little bit.
Kind of like Thunder Force, where you kind of have
example.
2 screens vertically to kind of go between, even though it's a horizontal shooter.
Yeah. And yeah, I just like, I appreciate, like, it seems like you unlock a bunch of different weapons. I've only unlocked a few different ones so far, but like you essentially have like a green meter, like for your power-ups, you can kill enemies, or there's sometimes like either like a full string of enemies, or like there'll be like a little red block that you can shoot that will drop either like a green, it'll alternate between a green and a red like orb that just kind of fluctuates. If you pick up the green, that upgrades your main weapon, whatever your main gun is.
Yep.
And if you pick up the red, that upgrades like your missiles, which you pick up after like the second level, I think.
Yep.
Which are just shooting either at the ground, or I think you eventually get like a double missile, or a missile that shoots both the ceiling and the ground at the same time.
Very Gradius that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it has some very strong vibes. But again, I just kind of appreciate like how fleshed out of an experience it is. It feels like you're really going on like a full adventure when I boot up like a campaign, even though I am starting over from scratch. Like, it has more of that than just like, oh, I'm just pounding through these arcade levels. Like, it just has like a little bit more wrapped around the package, and I really appreciate
the production
that.
Values are good. Like, I was impressed when you convinced me to buy this game. Yeah, I thought I was just going to get not a by the numbers shooter, but like a widescreen retro inspired shooter. But like, they added another layer of polish and presentation where there's some like, I think, purposely bad retro voice acting. It seems very like TurboGrafx CD/Sega CD inspired soundtrack / like voiceovers from the developers or interns that you had in the room at the time type of thing going on.
It definitely has that feel, yeah.
But it's really good. Like, there's even like a bit of a story thing. There's like little scenes that play out before certain levels that kind of keep the story going, and there's some like cinematic elements to it, even though it at heart is just a 16-bit shooter made in widescreen. Like, I was really impressed.
Yeah, and I appreciate like each level kind of has like a transition out of like, oh, you finished the level part of it, now we're on to the boss battle, and it kind of like you'll zoom off into the next little like screen and then face off against the boss. But yeah, like, just like you said, I mean, it's just there. Like what's that?
It saves your level up to that point where if you die, you're not having to go through the whole level again to fight the boss. If you need to use a continue, that's a different story. But if you have 3 lives and you've only lost 1, you can play again at the boss part only, which is great.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm having a blast with this game, and I'm, it's not as frantic as stuff like we've talked about Sterridan in the early days of the podcast, or some of these other shmups that are like, it has a bullet hell feel to it to a degree, but yeah, it feels a little slower, which I kind of like. It's a more leisurely experience. Like, I don't feel like I have to have my adrenaline like pumping through my veins to play this game, even though DJ, you watched me play like a couple levels before we recorded, and it's like I was definitely having some close calls. It got me going for sure. I was getting excited and getting into the game, but I appreciate that it isn't like, Sterridan with the like a heavy metal blasting soundtrack, and like you got to be kind of in the right frame of mind to want to be punished.
Yeah.
It's
a little bit slower, but man, I don't get sweaty palms often, but some of those later levels, I was like clutching, man. I was getting the little condensation on the controller trying to keep up and like weave between bullets and enemies. Like, man, it gets hard.
Yeah, and it feels good. It takes, again, it's a little slower pace than some of the other shooters that we've played or talked about before, but it just takes a few, basically one play, and you got the hang of the feel of the ship. And one thing, it is a little bit of a bummer maybe that there's not a bunch of different ships. I always appreciate when there's a bunch of different characters or a bunch of but again, you have all these different weapons, and I haven't unlocked many of them, but it seems like there is a lot of customization that you're able to do, which I do appreciate.
Me too. And I, like you kind of mentioned before, the branching paths with a level map layout. It's kind of like Darius, the very fish-based shmup of your that you can kind of select one of 2 paths to go with, especially like in my circumstance. I was doing the mode where, unlike Kevin, I was not quite that hardcore. It was saving my progress where I was kind of up to a node level that I could go in one of 2 directions. I tried one level, whoa, that's way too hard. Okay, let me try the other way. All right, I can progress, and then kept going that way, which I really appreciated as well. And there's auto fire, which I always appreciate.
Yeah, you need that. You need that. Even though there are some games that do feel great to just keep hammering on the fire button, like Enter the Gungeon. Like it needs that like satisfying feedback from every time you're shooting. But yeah, for a shmup like this where it's hectic enough just to be focusing on dodging, it's like you can't also be tapping the controller and shaking it around. No, because that's no good.
Yeah, you're weaving through some tight scenarios there, especially as the levels go on.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that this is a slightly more expensive game, but it kind of caught my eye as like, hey, why is this shmup $20?
Yep.
And I did grab it on sale for a slightly discounted price, but I do think it is offering up. Again, I mean, you have to be someone that's into playing these retro style shmups, but I mean, I don't think $20 is a crazy price to ask, because I think this is a more fleshed out experience than you're typically getting from even we've talked about some of like the Psycho shooters, which have really great vivid art styles and maybe even more unique art styles, but at the same time, it's like it is just like a rapid fire. Like you're probably going to beat the game if you were able to play through like Gunbird 2, for example, in one sitting. You're probably going to beat it in 20 minutes, maybe. Yeah. Where like this is probably like a good hour and a half. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a pretty padded out experience, and I'm excited to see some of these later levels that you've made it to, Randall.
Yeah, so it gets really hard, but they're worth seeing. I'll say that much. I'm going to keep playing this as well. Even though I kind of ran up against a wall, but I'm going to see this thing through one way or another.
Yeah. Well, thank God for those save states, or not save states, but save progress.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think we can pretty much wrap it up there this week, guys. I don't have anything else to talk about, so yeah, we can call it.
Kevin's done talking, so
I'm done talking, so it's over. Yeah, but yeah, I think we can wrap it up there. And again, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, the internet, pursuingpixels.com, or just search Pursuing Pixels on whatever website you're on, and maybe we're there. And until next week, we will catch you all then. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Slay the Spire is meaty.
No.
Are you watching?
I'm playing Euchre.
Oh man, in between hands.
I'm done.
So okay, is that asynchronous? Because like Euchre, you have to play with other people.
Yeah, I am.
Or is it with other, like, are those your friends or are those strangers?
No, strangers, baby.
And you're just gonna stop?
Let's save it for the cast.
Wow.
This is the cast. We're on. We're doing it live.
We're here
Let's
to
do
talk
it
about
live.
Euchre today.
Fuck it.
DJ, keep playing that as we're talking about Slay the Spire.
I'll tell you about a card game.
Actually, that is the perfect transition.
This is not your father's Euchre.